Welcome to the Abundant at the Top podcast. I'm Brittany Fox, your host. Do you ever feel like no matter how much you do, it never feels like enough? You hit the goal, you've crossed the milestone, maybe even you've built the dream life, but inside, you still feel like something is missing. And what if I told you that you can accomplish more by actually doing less? And that's the next level of success. It doesn't come from force, but from flow. In this series, we're going to be diving into what I call the creation cycle. This is my signature framework for building anything you desire, anything you want to create in your life, whether that's a business, whether that's a relationship, a vision, a dream, a new chapter in your life, whatever it may be. But doing it from alignment, from ease, and from an inner knowing versus from a place of force and constant pushing and grinding. This is your next level. Every dream begins with awarenesses. But to actually bring it to life, you have to move through each phase of this creation cycle, which includes getting really clear about what it is that you want in your life, doing the inner work, taking aligned action, overcoming, because you know there's going to be challenges, surrendering, having gratitude, and finally receiving. When you learn to flow through these phases instead of forcing outcomes, creation becomes natural. You stop chasing and you start becoming. You stop gripping and start allowing. And life starts to mirror the version of you who's already enough. Let's dive into the different cycles and the steps. And this is not a step-by-step process. This is a constant, ever evolving process. And this creation cycle actually came to me in a download when I was thinking about all the different things that I have created for myself in my life. And then I realized that it wasn't just luck, it didn't just happen, that it followed a process. I've been in this journey of personal development for over 8 years. And from all of the learnings that I've had through my meditation practice over the last 4 years, this is what I realize is the pattern, the cycle, the flow that I use to create anything in my life. And when it comes to creating anything in your life, the first step is awareness. When I first started on this journey and I wanted to start sharing what I had learned, I actually created a letter. It was a blog series called The Awareness because I just realized how much of a key to change anything in my life was the first step was to become aware. And what does awareness look like? It looks like realizing the stories that you're telling yourselves. What are the limiting beliefs that are holding you back? Did you know that 95% of our thoughts are the same from the day before? When I learned this statistic, I was in shock. And I wanted to know what are all the thoughts that I'm thinking? Because if I want to create a new reality, I'm going to have to start thinking some new thoughts. And what are the stories that you're telling yourself? What is it that's keeping you stuck, that's holding you back? And if it was so simple to just become aware, that would be easy for us. That'd be natural. But often we become aware through pausing, not from going, not from constant grinding, but really pausing to stop and think. What is the subconscious that's happening? What is the programming? What are the patterns in my life that I'm seeing over and over again? And this is the process of becoming aware. And I'm going to go through the whole cycle and I want to bring it back today to the awareness part of it. We're going to dive deeper. But after you get aware of something in your life, and when you want to create something new, you've got to get really clear as the next step. You've got to get really clear on the specific outcome that you're after. And this is the dreaming stage. This is where you're envisioning what it is, what's that new thing. This is where you get inspiration. But at the end of the day, when you leave, quote, this part of the cycle, you need to be really clear and specific about what it is that you want. And once you know what you want, you have to start doing the inner work. This is the key to creating anything you want. This is where you are going to face some hard truths. You're going to use tools. You're going to use different methods like coaching, therapy, meditation, visualization. But as you do the inner work, this is when the vision and your identity starts to shift. And part of the creation cycle is becoming enough because You can only receive what you believe you're worthy of. And this is such a challenge for so many of us that we feel inadequate. We feel like we're not enough. Who are we? And this is a big part of the creation cycle, is really doing that inner work and shifting your identity to become enough. And you're going to then take action. And this isn't like, okay, you've left this phase and now you're going to the next one. They're all working together simultaneously. But often we get focused on one area, especially this next one for my high achievers is the action part. But the difference here in this creation cycle is the action is aligned action. And this comes from a place of flow. Have you ever been in that moment where things are just flowing? Your work is easy, your relationship are easy. It's most likely because you're in that place of alignment, because you're working on your identity, you're making those shifts, you're becoming her, that person who already has what it is that you're trying to work for. You've made a shift internally and your action becomes easy. It's a flow, it's aligned, it's part of your higher self and who you're becoming. And you better believe when you're going through this creation cycle, you are going to face challenges. And this is the overcoming stage. Oftentimes, this is where people give up. They think, oh, it wasn't meant to be. This is really hard. Or the universe, God is testing me and it's just, it's not working. But you're right. You are being tested. You are seeing, is this what you really want? And are you really willing to put in the inner work to become who you need to be in order to get what it is that you're creating? And this is the messy middle. Man, this is such of the unknown. You don't know how this is going to turn out, but you're going to overcome these challenges to continue on your creation cycle and the journey of becoming. And the whole time, you're going to be surrendering. Because when we become attached to a specific outcome, to a specific creation, actually, when we're attached and it has to be that way, we slowly push it away because our identity is attached to that creation, to that goal that you're after. But as we surrender and we release control, my high achievers, anyone else in the room, control freak, just me? But as we continue to release control, you actually realize this is the point of collapsing space and time. When you're able to get to what you want even faster, I believe when you truly surrender. And surrendering happens in many phases. Sometimes it's just, or it starts off as an intellectual, I know I shouldn't be controlling this. I know, and we think we do. But then we're still taking actions that are part of trying to control a situation or a person or an outcome. And we have to surrender again and again. This is an ongoing process, this entire creation cycle. And what really helps in the surrender phase is this inner knowing, is the faith and trust that whatever is meant to be will be for you and will work out. The other part of this is to receive once you get to that end outcome. And oftentimes, if we haven't done the inner work, if we haven't become enough, then we might hit a goal and then just want to move on. Instead of enjoying what we've created, instead of celebrating what it is that we work so hard. I remember when I was on a trip that I had worked so hard to create, and then I just started going to the next goal. And I had to stop and really think, no, this is the goal. I'm living in the goal. I need to receive what I work so hard for. And the creation cycle is happening in many phases of our life all at once. That you might have a specific creation that you're going after for your business. You have another one that's happening in your relationship, and you're in different phases for different goals, creations that you're going for at different phases. But as you hit one goal, outcome, creation, you've created the thing, you've gotten there, and you've enjoyed it, don't forget that step, you then repeat the cycle. And what's so beautiful about the creation cycle is as you repeat it, you actually get more clarity. You have better systems. You've learned from the first go around. You have a stronger identity in who you are, and you are going to be able to make an even greater impact, and you have deeper alignment in who you are and what you're doing and your purpose. And I want to bring it back to today, diving in even deeper into the awareness part. Like I said, oftentimes it's not just, oh, now I want to become aware and boom, we have our answers. This is a journey. And pausing is such a key to becoming aware. Then I remember when I was building my tech company and I had brought in a specific leader to lead a division of our company. And I had this moment when I was like, why isn't this person delivering the way they should and the way that I know that they could? And I was having a coaching call with my life coach, and she was asking me questions as a good life coach does, and really listening and helping guide me to the answer. And what I realized was, as the owner of the company, as a person giving the vision and direction, I hadn't given him that. I had kept looking for him for the answers when really I had the answers inside. And this came down to an identity challenge that I was having because I thought, who am I to tell this person what to do? I hired them for a reason. They're 20 years my senior. They have the experience, right? This is why I brought them in. But he was looking to me for the vision of the company, of what I really wanted him to do. And as I was able to communicate that vision and that direction, he was then able to do his job and take his action. But I didn't even realize that he was looking to me. And it came down to, again, that identity. And oftentimes it does. 80% of business is actually psychology versus the tactical side of things, if not even higher than that 80%. The longer I've been in business, the more I realize it truly is all about our belief systems and our identity of who we are to be able to be that leader, to grow the company to where we want it to go. This was a huge awareness that I had, and I was able to make that shift. But if I never would have paused to be able to have this awareness, I was able to have the awareness because I took time to really dive into what was going on. And I think oftentimes, as high achievers, we just think if we just keep going, we'll find a way. That's one of my life mottos actually is I'll always find a way. But now I find myself finding the way by pausing, by stopping. So maybe take a moment with me right now just to do that, to pause. Take a deep breath with me. And think about what it is that you want to create in your life. Take another inhale. And think about what is the awareness that you need to have? What is the story that's holding you back from the thing that you're really going after in this moment? And I would encourage you after this podcast, take some time, commit to 5 minutes, do a journal, do a meditation to really see what it is that you want to become aware of. And it's a process, it's ongoing. You're going to then start getting really clear about what it is that you want. And as you do that and you start doing the inner work, you're going to become even more aware. That's the beautiful part of the creation cycle, is that it ebbs and flows together. That's it for this episode of Abundance at the Top. So make sure to subscribe to the podcast. This is just the beginning. Follow me on social, Foxy, Foxy, on Instagram, and check out the school community for all of the she creators out there doing magical things. Stay tuned.